Zoom also got itself in trouble this week, as you alluded to earlier, David.
Yeah.
They changed their terms of service, and I understand why they changed their terms of service. They just did it in the most ham-fisted, stupid way possible. So they basically changed their terms of service to say all the data that you're putting through Zoom has a license to. And they need that. If you run a service on the internet, you need a license to all the data that users put into your service for any infinite number of copyright reasons. Like, you run servers, you're going to copy data from one server to another, you're going to introduce new features that might remix the user data, all this stuff. So you just need this like big, broad license.
The example you always use when we talk about this stuff that I really like is thumbnails. If they don't have the rights to use and change and copy your stuff, they can't make the little versions of the image that you click on to get the big version of the image. Like, it's that simple in many of these cases.
Oh yeah, they can't overlay text on those images because that's a derivative. You just write yourself the biggest, broadest license you can. And they added these lines that are like, for artificial intelligence and training models. And it's like, everyone lost their mind.
So fast.
Because, just by the raw language of it, that means everything you say into Zoom can be used to train artificial intelligence.
Right. It's like, oh, we're selling your data to OpenAI to put into GPT-4, and we're allowed to now, is like the implication of that. And I remember, speaking of the strike, I saw a bunch of people in Hollywood tweeting like, oh, we can't use Zoom when we're creating stuff anymore. It's like, people are so primed to see this stuff being taken from them and see this all being used against them in a lot of ways, that Zoom did this the wrong way at exactly the wrong time.
If they did this like 3 months ago, nobody would have batted an eye. Until somebody like did a TikTok right now being like, did you know 3 months ago, Zoom decided to steal all your data and give it to ChatGPT. And now you own nothing, including your face. Zoom does. Right.
So this specific block of text is in like almost every terms of service. And it's just like what you need to run a service, right? You need to take a perpetual, worldwide, non-exclusive, royalty-free, sub-licensable, transferable license to do stuff. Access, use, store, transmit, review, disclose, preserve, extract. Like, it's just a list of verbs. We are giving ourselves the broadest license to do verbs to your data. Because if you run a service, you want to do stuff.
You're going to do verbs.
Verbs is what we're here for. It's not nouns.
Nope.
If you're living a noun's life, get off the couch. So they added this language about artificial intelligence. So you just kind of combine the like usual panic. Like every couple of years, like some teenager discovers the Instagram terms of service and people freak out and everyone posts that copy that's like, I do not give Instagram the permission to do shit. And then I have to like write a blog post that's an autocomplete of a blog post I wrote 4 years ago.
This is literally the case, by the way. Jay Peters wrote our story about this Zoom AI thing and has backlinks to one about Instagram from 2012 and one about Dropbox and Google Drive, also from 2012. And they are, I mean, like almost exactly the same post, both written by Nilay, both being like, guys, this is just the words you need to have things on servers. Everything's probably fine.
But so what's interesting about this is there's the general AI panic that is happening. It's like Dave was saying, even the writer strike has big elements of this. And then there's the actual problem, which is, if you just read the language, it sure sounds like that. So Zoom had to clarify that customer data is customer data, which is, if you are an enterprise software company, the worst thing to have to clarify. Like, that's the whole point of the enterprise software company. That's fundamentally why Slack and Discord are not the same. Right? Like, Slack makes these big promises to big businesses about its relationship to them. And Discord is like, yeah, it's for gamers. We're going to mine all of your data. Like, it's just like a very different approach. And I think Zoom stepped in it, and we're going to see hundreds of other companies step in it, because at the end of the day, Zoom probably wants to use AI to do things like better beauty filters that people ask for in Zoom calls, to do things like automated transcripts that are better than the already AI-powered automated transcripts are doing. And what you want is to write yourself a broad license so you can innovate freely. And the reality is you're going to have to start asking permission step by step for all that stuff, because this panic is coming over and over again.
Yeah, I think part of me is like, okay, Zoom did this exactly wrong. right? Like they added a statement after all of this kerfuffle that said, notwithstanding the above, which is a deeply hilarious way to say, well, we wrote that badly, so here's some new words. Zoom will not use audio, video, or chat customer content to train our artificial intelligence models without your consent. Like you're saying, Nilay, wild that was not in there the first time.
Yeah.
But B, I kind of don't know, other than that one bit of, I think, clarification that some lawyer at Zoom didn't think they needed to do because it was inherently obvious, but is not obvious to people who like to track changes on terms of service. This is just a hard thing to do. And I think one of the things we've discovered with a lot of these tools is like the thing that happens when somebody starts recording a Zoom call and there's that very loud thing that goes like, this meeting is now being recorded. Yeah. And they have this new thing with the AI meeting summaries where it like goes way out of its way to let you know that it's doing AI meeting summaries, and you have to like click a thing to make the giant window full of text go away. We're just setting ourselves up for this like heinous user experience because these companies are afraid of our reaction to what they're doing in order to run their service. And it feels like there has to be a middle ground in there somewhere, but I don't know what it is, and it feels like it's going to be a while before we find it.
I think it's like, one, they have to repeatedly prove that they're not going to do nefarious things with your data. And that's pretty hard for them to currently do because everything we cover at theverge.com, there's so many examples of it, right? And so like they've kind of set themselves up to fail in that respect because they have misused data over and over and over and over
Yes.
again. And so to be like, no, but this time is different. Like, nobody's going to believe that. You've got people who are way more savvy about this stuff than they were 10, 15 years ago.
Yep.
And so you've got to fix that. And I think until they can kind of earn that trust back, they're going to be in this place. And then the other side of it is like, people, please, like, go read anything ChatGPT wrote that is longer than like 100 words, and then come back to me and say that it's going to steal my job. Like, right, this stuff is not, we are very excited about it, and everybody's like, oh, it's gotten so big. But at the same time, it is still very early days. ChatGPT and these other generative AI systems aren't going to be writing really good books. They'll write books, but they're not going to be readable, fun books most of the time.
I do wonder, though, if, to your point, Nilay, about companies running into this, if what they're going to learn from this is just barrel your way through it. Don't ask permission.
No, that's always what they've learned.
Don't be nice. Just do what Google did and say, yeah, we take your shit from the internet. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, the problem is Zoom exists in a world where Microsoft Teams exists.
Fair.
And Slack.
And Slack, right? Like Google's approach to data on the internet right now, explicitly now in some of their terms, is if the crawler can see it, we can train AI with it.
Yeah.
And that's a nightmare choice, right? You have to say, don't index my website in Google search. Okay, like maybe like I'm going to shut my business down rather than like Google train its models on my data. Like you have to be Google to put yourself in that position. With Zoom, it's like, well, I'm just not going to use Zoom. Like,
Right.
it's like, the market works. The real answer, I think, is unfeasible in America. Like, you need some sort of privacy law so that if they do overstep, there's a consequence and that keeps them in line. I don't know if we're going to get that.
We have to have
soon.
a Congress that understands how computers work.
I just want you to try to, I keep using this example. You have to go into Chuck Schumer's office and be like, all right, there's a spectrum of AI things here, from beauty filters in Zoom to the people on Reddit who faked Glorbo to make the AI write about Glorbo in World of Warcraft. Write a law, Chuck.
No.
Well, if that's the spectrum, the law is just all these things are very good. No problems.
Only good things there, only upsides.
Yeah.